With each NBA season that comes and goes, we usually see our favorite stars put up their typically great numbers, as expected. But every now and then, a player has a season that comes completely out of left field. Today, I have a few of what I consider to be the greatest random seasons in NBA history, seasons that were total outliers in the player's career. I only have 5 choices today, so if you think I missed a great random season, let me know in the comments. Before we start, I'm just gonna give an honorable mention to Gerald Wallace in 2006. Wallace had a few near 20 points per game seasons, but in 2006, he averaged 2.1 blocks and 2.5 steals. Officially, only Hakeem Olajuwon, Bobby Jones, and David Robinson have pulled off that same feat of 2+ blocks and 2+ steals in a season. I ultimately left it off the list because, as stated, Wallace had a few other good seasons, but that's still kind of crazy to think that he's one of only 4 to pull that off in a season. Bubbles Hawkins in the 76-77 season. Some of you might not know who this guy is. Robert Hawkins, better known as Bubbles, was a 6'4" left-handed shooting guard who only played 4 seasons in the NBA from 1976 to 79. Drafted 51st overall by the Warriors, Hawkins played just 32 games in his rookie season and averaged 3.9 points and 4.8 minutes per game. After being cut by the Warriors just before the start of the 76-77 season, Hawkins was ready to quit the NBA and began looking for work elsewhere. But in December of 76, Hawkins received a call that the New York Nets were interested in signing him. 1977 was the merger season between the NBA and the ABA. In 1976, the Nets had won the ABA championship, but after losing Dr. J to the Philadelphia 76ers, the Nets were really struggling in their first NBA season. Out of desperation, the Nets signed Hawkins, who went on to have the best season of his career, with 19.3 points and 3 rebounds in 28.5 minutes per game in 52 games played. On January 9th, he scored a career-high 44 points in a win against the New Orleans Jazz. Nets coach Kevin Loughery was actually quoted as saying, "All I know is that Bubbles Hawkins has become a hero just when we needed one." Newspapers actually started calling Hawkins the next Earl Monroe. It was kinda like Linsanity before Linsanity. However, the hero moniker didn't last long for Hawkins. After the team relocated to New Jersey the following season, and several conflicts arose between him and Loughery, the Nets released Hawkins after just 15 games. Even though he wasn't on an NBA team, Hawkins was still invited by the NBA to participate in the 1978 horse competition, where he was eliminated by Pete Maravich in the first round. The Detroit Pistons signed Hawkins in the 78-79 season, but they ended up cutting him after he only played 4 games. Mike James in the 05-06 season. James was a 6'2" point guard who actually won a championship as a reserve for the 2004 Pistons. In his first 4 seasons, he averaged 9.2 points, 3.5 assists, and 2.4 rebounds. But with the Toronto Raptors for the 05-06 season, James put up 20.3 points, 5.8 assists, and 3.3 rebounds, while starting each and every one of his 79 games. He also shot a career-best 46.9% from the field, and a career-best 44.2% from 3-point range. Good enough for 4th in the league. James finished top 20 in points per game, assists per game, and he was named the January 8th, 2006 Player of the Week. After this season, James never averaged more than 10.1 points, 3.6 assists, and he never shot higher than 37.5% from 3. Of course, the 06 Raptors are probably most famous for being the team that Kobe dropped 81 points on, but less talked about is how Mike James had 26 points and 10 assists on 10 of 15 shooting from the field and 6 of 8 from 3 in that same game. But his best game of the 2006 season came against his former team, the Pistons, when he dropped a career-high 39 points in a 108-103 win. Michael Adams in the 90-91 season. Adams was a 5'10" point guard who actually made the All-Star game in 1992, but his 1991 season was absolutely ridiculous on a historic level. He averaged 26.5 points, 10.5 assists, 3.9 rebounds, and 2.2 steals. The only other players to average 25 points and 10 assists per game in the same season are Oscar Robertson, who did it 5 times, Russell Westbrook, who did it twice, LeBron James, James Harden, and Nate Tiny Archibald. This season is actually one of the biggest jumps by a player in scoring average. In the 89-90 season, Adams averaged 15.5 points. That's an increase of 11 points per game. Admittedly, Adams' field goal and three-point percentages weren't exactly impressive, but the guy was 5'10", and again, he did this while dishing out nearly 11 assists per game. Adams loved to shoot the three. This season, he averaged more three-point attempts than 18 different teams did. Adams led the league in three-point attempts for 4 straight seasons. He finished as the league leader in three-pointers made in 1989 and 90, and he finished in second place in 91. Although he didn't earn an All-Star nod this season, he was named the January 27th, 1991 Player of the Week. Don May in the 70-71 season. May was a 6'4" left-handed small forward who had a pretty great college career at Dayton, the highlight of which was when he led the Flyers to the 1967 NCAA championship game. May was selected 30th overall in the 1968 draft by the New York Knicks. He played there for 2 seasons and won a championship in 1970 before the Knicks traded him to a new expansion team, the Buffalo Braves. In his rookie season, May averaged 4.3 points and played 11.7 minutes per game, and in his sophomore season, he averaged 2.6 points and 6.4 minutes per game. But in the 70-71 season, May averaged 20.2 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2 assists in 35.1 minutes per game. For reference, here are May's career stats. I've actually seen a lot of people claim that if May was given the starting small forward role on New York over Bill Bradley, he could have filled it just as well. We'll never know for sure, but I just thought it was interesting how a lot of people stand by that. The only time May came somewhat close to replicating the production of his 1971 season were the 26 games he played for the 1973 76ers, but we all know how things turned out on that Sixers team. Dana Barrows in the 94-95 season. If you're a fan of open court, then you probably know that Kenny Smith cites Dana Barrows as the toughest guy he ever had to match up against. Barrows was a 5'11" point/shooting guard who was kind of the Allen Iverson before Allen Iverson, and I'm not just saying that because he played for the 76ers and wore a number 3 jersey. He was super quick and skilled as a ball handler, but what he was famous for was his incredible shooting. Oftentimes, whether he was catching and shooting from the corner or pulling up for a contested 3 behind the arc, Barrows was one of the deadliest long-range shooters in the league. He had a career three-point percentage of 41.1%, and he shot a league-leading 44.6% in 1992. Barrows spent his first 4 seasons on the Seattle Supersonics, where he averaged about 9, 2, and 3, but he didn't begin to get real starters minutes until his first season with the Sixers in 1994, but the next season would be his magnum opus. In 1995, Barrows averaged 20.6 points, 7.5 assists, 3.3 rebounds, and 1.8 steals, while shooting 46.4% from 3. He finished 4th among all players in three-pointers made that season, only behind John Starks, Mookie Blaylock, and Dan Marley. But if you look at their three-point percentages, it's not even close. Barrows was just that much more efficient. Though, to be fair, the NBA was using a shortened three-point line at this time. Barrows finished 2nd in offensive win shares, only behind that season's MVP, David Robinson, and he earned the 1995 Most Improved Player award, as well as the only All-Star selection of his career. The highlight of his season was when he dropped a career-high 50 points on the eventual champion Houston Rockets.